There are multiple signs that the economy is nowhere near healthy. And we're seeing some of the most dramatic moves we've ever seen in market history. But why does Donald Trump, and for that matter, a lot of the Republican Party, want to make Jerome Powell resign and seemingly cut interest rates? Now, we're going to get into all of that and how we might be potentially in one of the largest asset bubbles in human history. But first, let's dive into this. I mean, you don't see charts like this every single day. It's absolutely insanity that we're seeing potentially one of the biggest gamma squeezes in history, if not the biggest gamma squeeze in history. And of course, a gamma squeeze occurs when the call option of buying forces market makers to hedge by purchasing the underlying stock. For Open Door, the the record call volume hit 919K, the highest ever, driving shares up 120% in a single day. Now, with that, we're also seeing a miss on the Capital One deposits, where their estimated was 27.88 billion, or their actual, was 27.88 billion, where their estimated was 447.6 billion. These are not tiny misses, folks. These are something that are absolutely astronomical. I mean, you miss it by 22x. 22x. And now we're saying that the economy is all of a sudden very healthy. It doesn't add up to me, folks. It seems like something is very, very off with this entire market. And then on top of it, we've got the craziness going on where we have Senator Mike Lee posting and deleting a fake letter of Chairman Powell resigning. I mean, we're getting people duped by the most insane things on the internet, and we're having people believe it. They sharing fake AI generated letter purporting that Jerome Powell is resigning as chairman, and all of that. The phony letter addressed to the president featured garbled Fred Seal and non-English characters, a slightly mishapen depiction of an eagle, as well as some unusual text. So all of that saying, hey, you know what? This is absolutely crazy. We're seeing Capital One miss deposits by 22x. And then on top of all of that, the NASDAQ 100 has now reached 60 consecutive trading days, closing above its 20-day moving average, the longest streak since the 2000.com bubble. Now, I don't know about you guys, but this seems like a recipe for the biggest asset bubble in potentially human history. And we haven't even cut interest rates yet. So imagine when that happens and Donald Trump gets his wish for 0% interest rates. Look, we're going to see some craziness here. And I don't think that the market volatility has slowed down by any means. So it's time to buckle up, folks, because the previous record lasted for 77 straight sessions. So in 77 days, in 17 days, we could tie that streak. And the current streak of the NASDAQ 100 has rallied 23%. The index gained 50% by its 99 record stretch. So it's about halfway there. So the S&P 500 has gone 18 trading days without a 1% up or down day, the longest streak in November 2024. So such a strong bullish run is truly historic. It's very interesting this because we have the NASDAQ 100 obviously showing huge days, but the S&P 500 being relatively flat. And on top of it, we have Americans' inflation expectations changing drastically, right? The U.S. consumers, the one-year inflation expectations fell to a 4.4% in July, the lowest expectation since earlier this year in February. And over the last 2 months, expectations declined by 2.2%. And it's looking at now below its March 2022 peak of 5.4%. So the 5-year inflation expectations are now increasing here. So it's interesting that we're seeing the consumer have some, well, let's call it big concerns with the amount of inflation that we're seeing. And we're seeing now people saying, hey, Jerome Powell needs to resign. We need Jerome Powell to cut interest rates. He's doing a disservice to the American people by not cutting interest rates. Then we got senators getting duped by AI. I mean, what are we even talking about here? Is this potentially the most crazy time we've ever seen when it comes to just the political theater surrounding the Fed and everything else? I mean, how can you keep your eyes off of this stuff? And on top of it, they rank with Wall Street said Powell should resign to preserve Fed independence, which is interesting because the Fed is supposed to be politically agnostic. So reserving the Fed's independence by, now resigning, would that be something that we're seeing here? I don't know. I think that this is something that if Powell were to resign, he'd be basically giving in to Donald Trump and seemingly looking at all of this and saying, hey, you know what? Fine. Stick a fork in me, hand up. I am done. I don't want to see any of this anymore. It's very interesting times here, to say the very least. And on top of this, Wall Street analysts saying that for central bank independence, it just doesn't make sense to me, right? Because if he wanted to be objected to his safeguard, their operation anonymity, which I deem vital, he should resign. I don't think that's happening, right? And I mean, if you look at all of this, right, the Fed is not going to cut interest rates. We've got literally next week, a week from Wednesday, a week from tomorrow, the Fed has a 4.7% chance to cut interest rates. Now, something needs to break in order for them to do that, in my opinion. And I think I found that thing. I think I might have uncovered it. The grid. We've also had, I saw the Simpsons are calling it for a major blackout. So watch out for whatever the Simpsons have to say. But, the biggest grid capacity price at a record of $329 per megawatt a day. Are we looking for potentially the biggest catastrophic event maybe in human history? And on top of it, we got the Dixie just absolutely collapsing today, down 0.5% with all of this, right? With the political theater that we're seeing, Jerome Powell, all of it going back and forth. I mean, it's absolutely crazy. Why are we starting to see this really happen? I mean, it's crazy. I can't believe that we're seeing the Dixie fall 0.5% in a single day. And then on top of it, like I said, we have the massive amounts of trading days just up, and we're having just 1% here, 1% there, or basically flat days in the S&P 500. I mean, this is all just stacking up for potentially one of the biggest asset bubbles in human history. And it's crazy. I don't think that this is slowed down. This has actually accelerated everything here going forward. So with the amount of the asset or with the potential of the asset bubble here, the biggest gamma squeeze in human history, typed up with a 22x miss on deposits. I mean, what are we even talking about here? Why is it that people believe that the economy is healthy enough to cut interest rates at this point? I think it's absolutely shocking that they think that this is even a potential right now, because why would you cut interest rates in an environment like this? We see interest rates as something that, hey, you know what? This should be, the way to move forward, right? The interest rate should be something that we see, as protecting our environment here. But we're seeing them skyrocket everything into oblivion. So I'm going to keep this one short and sweet, guys. Make sure you guys are hitting that subscribe button. I know 95% of you guys that watch this channel are not subscribed, so please help me get to 1K subscribers so I can keep following along, and get active in the chat for me. Hit those bell notifications so you guys get active. And then on top of it, I've got a very cool vlog coming out soon, but I'm going to be previewing it on my Instagram. So I encourage you guys all to go to my Instagram account, keysopen_doors. Follow me there. You could catch all of the unique content I've got there. You could see why I've got this crazy mustache and everything else. So go on to there, hit that follow button there, and I will be posting some exclusive travel vlog content here in the near future. And I'll catch you guys all at the next one.